I'm Leon speaking first for the nag from Harker. Everyone good? Cool. Disadvantaged one is instability. Despite current tensions, escalation isn't imminent. Kurtz 24. Escalation doesn't seem imminent. War between Egypt and Ethiopia, unrealistic due to limited range of air force. Ethiopia could reduce Nile River flow. There's no international backing. The US provides 1.3 billion, an integral part of Egypt's defense. Between Ethiopia and Somalia, two factors mitigate risk. Somali forces are divided and operate incoherently and have been united against al-Shabaab. These troops cooperate closely with Somali militias. The Aff causes invasion. Hassan 24. Somalia will go to war with Somaliland. Reaction rooted in perception was consensus to bring Somaliland back. Government capitalized on Lasana, which claims region in Somaliland. The reaction was frustration over the loss of opportunity. They are willing to go to war not against Ethiopia, but against Somaliland. Somalia is too weak to confront Ethiopia. Somalia's free takes the form of destabilization to break Somaliland, risking regional involvement. Somaliland suffers from disadvantage of incompetent administration. It's because of legitimacy. Chronicle 24. Somaliland framed as an existential threat and rushing to void the MOU. Recognition erased Somalia's territorial claim, granting the seat in the AU, solidifying independence and providing access to the Red Sea. Somalia has the capability. CS20. China delivered large-scale military aid to Somalia, impelling Somalia to retaliate against Somaliland. Diplomats fear conflicts on behest of China. Recognition destabilizes Somaliland. Baton 22. Opposing clans oppose recognition because that will translate to aid to the government controlled by the Esau clan. Fear is aid will allow the SR to dominate the others. Recognition increase anxieties. Clans openly discuss civil war. All it takes is a few AKs. Chinese involvement turns case and causes war. Hoggy 24. China reacted strongly to Somaliland and views it as a challenge to its interests. Beijing aimed to destroy Somaliland, orchestrated a proxy war. China compelled Washington to cancel the drill. Retaliatory steps hindered goals. The U.S. chose to acquiesce. Many African countries maintain ties. China providing resources for economy makes an appealing choice. Conflict draws in great powers. Elmi 24. Conflict drawn Red Sea states, all of which consider the body essential for security. The US, China, and Europe have a military presence. Iran and Russia enter the fray. The region become a battlefield for global powers, disrupting maritime routes, war endanger global trade to also revive extremist groups. Extinction. Claire 23. Great power overseas nukes, bioweapons, and disruptive tech threatens extinction. Likelihood and severity makes this the most pressing problem. Growth in tech bolsters arsenals. Accidents or misunderstanding spark conflict that escalates tensions cause leaders to fight. Disadvantage 2 is cohesion. Africa is stabilizing the global economy. Continued cooperation is key. Henzi Chura Glue 23. The world economy is at a critical juncture and has entered prolonged slowdown. Forces that powered growth since the 90s have weakened Africa, create an economically stable future. Africa's growth in young consumer market will be the main driver of global demand. Closing the housing gap contributes significantly. Africa is a trading hub, leveraging economic ties with other regions. Venues for regional integration are being explored to contribute 20 trillion to a global economic boom. No region possesses the same potential. African institutions reinforce co-op. AU cohesion on development is high and key. Writer 24. The AU put economic issues on top of its agenda. Global growth will be driven by Africa, the world's next manufacturing hub. The AU coordinate reforms of the financial system. AU summit marked Africa's economy gaining renewed focus. With the AU focusing on development rather than just security, management of relations will be needed. Cohesion is imperative to efficiency. Yade 23. Management of challenges depends on regional co-op. Individual nations cannot solely address challenges to secure the best outcome. The AU must draw on collective agency to harmonize positions. Africa has had pan-continental impulse pave the way for institutional change and continues to inspire. The Aff destroys cohesion. AL 24. Ethiopia and Somalia strengthened ties set a precedent for others, encourage collaboration over competition. However, territorial disputes are a source of friction. If concerns aren't managed, they could undermine trust essential for collaboration. AU actions can support peace or complicate it, depend on how interests align with the region. If external actors pursue agendas without considering the context involvement, exacerbate tensions, powers pressure to align with one side, creating divisions that undermine cooperation. External actors are detrimental to interests that erode trust and jeopardize peace. The precedent is dangerous. Gabriel 24. African states respect Article 4 of the Constitutive Act. Countries follow this principle. Recognition can set dangerous precedents. Recognizing Somaliland encourage secessionist movements, fueling instability. In Ethiopia, various regions advocate for autonomy. Recognition also inspire regions to seek independence from Somalia. Historical context. Ethiopia, Somalia, and Sudan engage in a cycle supporting movements to destabilize each other, led to fragmentation. This historical pattern will re-emerge. Somalia escalate rebel groups in Ethiopia, perpetuate proxy conflicts, destabilizing Africa, drawing in other actors. UAE, Turkey, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Israel, and Egypt. Past years were distinct. Hassan 21. Eritrea and South Sudan led to no secession, but their separation came through mutual agreement, and the world went happily along. Somalia is different. The AU isn't even key. Attica 24. Oh, actually, cut that card. Decline causes great power war. Brands 21. Slow growth makes leaders grab resource to making nationalism a crutch. Many followed this when the U.S. economic search engine Washington engaged in imperial expansion. Facing slowdown, Putin invaded two countries. France to undertake military intervention to fear decline a powerful motive for urgent expansion.
My name is Alex. I'm first speaker for Audi, and this is the second first Aff Constructive. I'll say the doc. We affirm contention 1 is democracy. Africa democracy is declining, needs a model. Abadi 24. Security and democracy deteriorated, improvements regressing. Africa needs clarity and foundations of an African framework for government. Instability is rising. Car 24. Russia, Middle East grow military engagement. Egypt, Turkey help counter Somaliland, increased risk of conflict. Competition between Egypt, UAE, Saudi, Iran, Turkish rivals manifested in Africa. Sudan, civil war displaced 10 million. Egypt wants to deny Ethiopian naval access. Growing risk of conflict. The AU peace building transition at end of 2024 trigger conflict. Somaliland is a democracy that serves as a model. Mills 21. Despite a tiny budget, Somaliland showing the way for countries countries to follow, concentrated on achieving peace, not comforts, with regular elections and frequent turnover of power. Somaliland remains synonymous with poverty. The younger generation sees democracy as diluting the clan system. Somaliland improves democratic norms, a regional democratic superpower. Recognition promotes democracy, Khan 24. Opposition to recognition from authoritarian regimes view Somaliland's democratic success as dangerous. President A. Recognition signaled democracy valued in Africa, opportunity to build democratic region. Somaliland's governance is a model for conflict resolution, Khan 24. Somaliland's stability attributed to its governance model by maintaining governance serves as a buffer to gains against extremist groups and conflicts, effective in managing threats, provides a model for conflict resolution, offers lessons for other regions. Africa is key to global democracy, Yay 24. By the end of 2024, Africa will no longer be the same. Uncertain transitions, coups make observers pessimistic. Africans familiar with the democratic practice, hardships have created democratic fatigue, reinforced by underdevelopment. With its population expected to double, Africa has global democracy's future. The youth are committed to movements chasing away authoritarian regimes. To regain value, democracy will have to reform. Democracy caps existential risks, Camp 21. Voters are unlikely to tolerate GCRs. Democracy will improve governance and study of X risks. A diverse group of problem-solving agents commit fewer mistakes. Fail-safe mechanisms work. Even if imperfect democracies prevent famines, make war less likely in comparison to government. Public, little support for nukes, strong support for climate. Cross-app C1 impact about instability, the Elmi and Clear card. Contention 2 is piracy. Somali piracy is researching Laraka 24. Somali pirates are back. Piracy around Africa rise sharply. Governance forces already locked in the Red Sea. There's been more piracy than at any point with high ransom. UNSC anti-piracy measures expired. It's raising shipping costs exceed previous levels. Province 24. Raids piling costs on shipping companies, driven up prices for security insurance and ransom. The problem could escalate if we don't stop it. Infancy become the same as it was. Indeed, Walker 24. Pirates developed a sophisticated capability. Houthi attacks using routes south, increased vessel activity along Somalia's coast, create opportunities to exploit maritime vulnerabilities, shreds trade. Raza 20. 90% of commodities travel by sea. Gulf of Aden plays a prominent role. Somali privacy threatened incalculable damage to world economy. Higher insurance, extra fuel on rerouting, additional costs endangered the economic viability of shipping, disrupting trade. Continued disruption decked global economy, CRS 24. Attacks in Gulf of Aden disrupted global supply chain, significant trade choke points. Economic effects of attacks limited thus far. Potential remains for great near-term risks. If prolonged disruptions to shipping contribute to global inflation, draw the global economy. Somaliland is critical to counter piracy, needs investment, Farley 10. Non-recognition denies Somaliland assistance. The most probable outcome of extinguishing Somaliland is an increase in pirates kept at bay by Somaliland's Coast Guard will be able to expand around Africa. Recognizing Somaliland, afford to aid in assistance, encourage FDI. Indeed, Langfit 11. Somalia piracy is an epidemic. Somaliland's trying to fight the problem with the ragtag Coast Guard uses boats that aren't nearly enough, only 8 vessels. Non-recognition limits cooperation, resources, and training, Clapham 11. Somaliland borders the Gulf of Aden, threatened by pirates. Collaboration, including use of ports by other navies, is prevented by non-recognition. Prevents states providing necessary assistance, includes training and weaponry. Efforts to spill over regionally, SM19. A. Recognized Somaliland, strengthened incentives for Puntland and Somalia to make progress in political institution building. Regions pirate infected. If new international engagement was possible following recognition of Somaliland, powerful incentive exists to reduce pirates. Independently, growth counters the root cause of piracy. Raza 20. Underdevelopment in Somaliland and Puntland, the main factors enabling piracy. Root cause on land. Decline causes great power. War Brands 21. Slow growth makes it hard to keep the public happy, fearing upheaval, leaders grab resources, making nationalism a crutch. Many countries followed this path. When U.S. economic surge ended, Washington engaged in imperial expansion, facing slowdown. Putin invaded 2 countries. France undertake military invasions. Pattern is clear. Fear of decline, a powerful motive for urging expansion. Stable supply chains to de-escalate great power. Warcana 16. Supply chains diminish conflict. Market integration turn forward. Knowing MID force leaders to calculate utility of strategies. Supply chain warfare conflicts contain at the local level rather than allowing spillover. Hyper-connected multipolar worlds uncharted, but trade linkages settle grievances. Global stability hint on global supply chain and waging tug of war rather than the real thing.
You ready for cross?
Yeah.
Can I take the first question?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the impact on piracy. Why didn't the Strait of Hormuz crisis or COVID trigger the impact?
Yeah, because the Bab al-Mandab Strait is key, which is completely irrespective of that, but also Somali pirates are on the rise uniquely now.
Wait, that doesn't answer my question. During COVID, during the Strait of Hormuz crisis, all of which caused the economy to decline, why didn't that cause the nuclear war impact that you're talking about?
Yeah, so the entire point of our argument, if all of global trade is gone, i.e. through the Red Sea Strait, and because of massive instability now, that would be pretty bad. Can I get a question?
Sure.
Okay. So on your first argument about instability, if China wanted to do a proxy war, why can't it do it now?
It has no incentive to do it now. We've seen that historically,
Wait, why nothing changes about the incentive calculus when you
it does. Well, obviously something changes about the incentive, right? Somaliland isn't recognized as a country now, but when it's recognized, countries around the world see that as legitimizing Taiwan because they see, oh, now that Somaliland declared independence, maybe Taiwan is next. China gets afraid, and then they start proxy wars, which is why historically, when they have done things that have been related to Taiwan, China has started proxy war. For example, in Anode, and recognition is a thing that would trigger the proxy war that uniquely causes extinction now.
Yeah, so China has motives to gain influence and secure hegemony over Africa. So why can't they do that through proxy wars now, insofar as your evidence
Wait,
indicates that they're capable?
no, our evidence says that they have no incentive to other than if Somaliland actually got recognized, which would then legitimize Taiwan, which then forces them to start the
On that.
proxy. Can I take a question?
Okay.
Yeah, let's talk about your argument about democracy, right? So insofar as your Yade evidence says that like by the end of 2024, the democracy is basically gone, why isn't it like already irreversible?
Wait, what do you mean?
The Yade evidence says, quote, by the end of 2024, Africa will no longer be the same. Uncertain transitions, coups make observers pessimistic. All of that is about basically there's 3 days of 2024 left. Why is it already like not over the brink?
Sure. So it's a long-term structural democratic decline. So therefore, it's been declining for all of 2024. Our argument is that you should not let that be worse. And also because of the fact that there's massive autocracies in Africa and across the globe, those are leading towards conflict now per our uniqueness on C1. Can I get a question?
Sure. That's fine. You can have a question.
Right. Um, on cohesion,
Yeah.
why would recognition of literally a few acres of land prevent economic cooperation, which is completely independent from like geopolitics?
Right, the AL evidence indicates that they fight over things, right? That's why, like, it's the same logic as politics, basically. That's why if there's a fight in Congress or something like that, then they can't get other things done. It's an attention trade-off argument in which they're fighting over Somaliland instead of prioritizing the economy, and even after that, they get mad at each other. That's historically proven, as for example, when Ethiopia signed the MOU with Somaliland, like Somalia got mad and cut off like basically all talks with Ethiopia.
Start on their argument about democracy. Firstly, you should reject laundry list. Kramer and Kemp just says this solves X risk without mentioning any of them. There's no uniqueness read about what X risk even happened now, and which that means that card is basically just defense against next scenarios. Secondly, they can't solve for our scenarios. Theirs relies on voters, but insofar as our scenarios happen before any election, voters don't get a say on policy. Thirdly, destabilizing acts the uniqueness describes haven't triggered conflict, meaning it either won't or at best has a nebulous time frame. Fourth, their argument happening at the end of 2024 is obviously thumped insofar as there's 3 days left in the year. Five, you can cross-apply Kurds from our case. Current tensions don't escalate because Egypt doesn't have the capacity or the motive to, and Somalia is cooperating with Ethiopia over al-Shabaab. The other warrants in CAR are relevant insofar as they're about Africa as a whole, and the only impact scenario read in the round is about the Hornets specifically. Sixth, democratic peace is statistically disproven as conflict driving. Chiban 21, democratic peace is characterized as law. At the same time, peace fosters democracy, making it look as if variables are related, even if they're not. Common causes may be unobservable, generating endogenous relations, each remain poorly understood empirically. We address the risk of spurious correlation by applying variables approach. Democracy does not have a pacifying effect. Findings show democratic countries are more likely to attack than non-democracies. And democracy promotion triggers the revisionist link-up that triggers war. Wolforth in 19. To further democracy abroad, results backfire, meddling and aggravate concerns about violations of sovereignty and tar opposition forces with the charge of being foreign pawns. It stimmy balancing against the order by liberal states, China, Iran, Russia. Rulers worry powers under threat. They team up to check liberal powers, to reduce that fear, and there will be opportunities for states to divide and deter. And democracy causes short-termism. It turns every scenario. Kersner in 19, the electoral cycle, the fall of the democratic system entice tax breaks to woo voters while ignoring the long-term issues such as ecological breakdown. Special interest groups use systems to secure near-term benefits while passing longer-term costs onto society. We may be better off with benign dictators. Only enlightened despots could push measures to navigate the 21st century safely. Let's go to the argument about piracy. Firstly, on the top, recent bumps in piracy will stay limited. Stratford in 24, piracy's impact will be limited due to stronger multinational counter-piracy structures. The shipping industry is better prepared to face resurging piracy activity as commercial vessels now more commonly deploy armed guards. Secondly, the Houthis will retaliate. Use militarization risk increases the risk of regional war that turns case. Gamble on 24. Houthis vowed fierce retaliation for U.S. strikes, raising the prospect of a wider conflict. These strikes would not go unpunished. Thirdly, you can cross-apply the uniqueness from our case. The economy is doomed absent African development, which means that supply chains will be decked even if you affirm. Fourthly, trade decline is thumped. CFR has no warrant. That's been on 24. Houthi attacks forced companies to reroute. Trade plummeted 60% year over year. 6. Their kind of evidence can't turn case insofar as it only says that any war in the region uniquely threatens trade, which means that countries are drawn in and have an incentive to fight. 7. The piracy threat is decreasing. The manual in 24. The data shows piracy threat fell to the lowest levels in 30 years for the first 9 months of 2024. The IMB reported 79 incidents, a decrease from 99, thanks to multilateral naval operations, improved ships security, and enhanced navigation. On their Coast Guard link specifically. Firstly, recognition causes Egypt blockade. IDAM 24. Egypt views this as an existential issue. Fears its interest could be undermined, prompting a blockade. Somaliland's economy is heavily dependent on trade. A blockade would exacerbate vulnerabilities by disrupting access to markets. Secondly, affirming guarantees miscalculation. It turns case because aid can't get in. Weapon 24. The Horn of Africa is still reeling from Ethiopia's MOU with recognition of Somaliland. The involvement of other players could create a tinderbox, which creates rapid escalation. Regional infighting among political leadership risks lack of cooperation. On their modeling link specifically, firstly, winning any DA answers this because countries won't want to be recognized if they see it brings negative effects. Secondly, their evidence only says punt land. There's no reason why punt land modeling magically solves piracy. For those reasons, you should probably negate.
That's 20 seconds. Okay. I'll start time. Now, on democracy, the first thing I'll do is find the impact turns. We'll concede that voters do not get a say in policy, so it doesn't actually lead to democratic spillover in the region, so there's no link to any of the impact turns. But second, even if they win democracy is bad, they haven't analyzed the counterfactual. Authoritarian governments are worse because they ignore all X-rays and are conflict prone. Second, the turns are not unique because authoritarian governments actually do the same. Finally, democracy has grown for decades, yet their impacts have been triggered, so you should be skeptical. On the instability argument. They say it hasn't triggered conflict yet, but our argument is that it'll happen soon because its scale or more involvement is happening within the region now. On piracy. Group the responses about how piracy is limited now and decreasing. Our evidence proceeds this by 8 months and finds that piracy is increasing within the region. Now, we read 3 pieces of uniqueness evidence, all of which you should prefer. The second thing is that Houthis would retaliate against the U.S., but this turn makes no sense. There's been no mention of the U.S. throughout the entire debate whatsoever. The third thing they say, the next thing they say is that trade is stumped in the region now, but our CFR evidence says that these effects have been limited so far, but will increase in the long term unless we stop them now. It's specifically isolating that now is uniquely the brand. The next thing they say is that their uniqueness says that the economy is doomed now. No, our evidence finds that despite all of their uniqueness, the global economy is doing fine now, but it's still on the brink, and our argument has the fastest time frame. On the random TAs. The first thing they say is that Egypt would do blockade, but there's no reason why Egypt would want to do it insofar it would hurt their own economy. The second thing they say is that the affirmative would lead to miscalculation, but there is zero warrant within this card as to why, this is no warrant why it causes miscalculation, and this is just a cross application of the DS on modeling. They say Parliament will not model why, and Parliament is not key, but they've dropped that they've incentive because they want recognition. The DAs don't apply because Somalia will not be equally mad at Parliament because it is a separate region under different circumstances. And we have read reasons as to why Parliament can also counter piracy, i.e., some pirates come from Parliament. So if we win the modeling league, we can stop the root cause, their case. As an overview, diplomacy happens. The Aff forces diplomatic engagement, short 21, strong mediation, overcome delays. Somalia's unwillingness to negotiate Somaliland status undermines stability. Somalia would assist Somalia with its security challenges, negotiations address jurisdictional issues. The AU's they manage to mediate peace and make determinations. Sovereignty can compel Somalia to negotiate on stability. 1. Turkish mediation will fail. SSMB 24, assessing the atmosphere of the region. It is impossible to witness an outcome of the Ankara Declaration. Ethiopia is later facing strong opposition. Speculations indicate political impasse between Somalia and Egypt. Unlikely, the Ankara Declaration would reduce tension. Unresolved Ethiopia's naval inhibition ops accused president of double-crossing sovereignty by signing a legal declaration. Ethiopia forces attack Somali forces, filing the Ankara Declaration, blatant action and answered peace requires diplomatic engagement on the invasion. 1, Hassan concedes invasion is inevitable. 2, Somalia's army needs a GoFundMe and prior Survey 18. Somalia is the world's most corrupt country for 11 years running. No funding for essential solutions operating full force, illiquid, disorganized, lack of the skills to hold weapons if they manage to get one. That chase out the China spike. It doesn't solve for corruption and skill issues. 3, the Kurds, their unique since all causes to why war can't happen, which takes out the DA on the civil war link. 1, recognition can allow for equal distribution of aid. The Zoclan has incentives to distribute it equally, but to continue getting more aid in the future. Otherwise, governments cut them off and they want to maintain power and stability. Perception is grounded in reality. When attacking, let's see the Zoclan keeping aid on the channel link. 1, Haiti says the proxy war was small scale and ended quickly. It's contextual to the status quo. 2, recognition means Somaliland doesn't need to maintain ties to Taiwan. They break them because they don't want Chinese backlash. On cohesion, 1, their unique concedes that Africa's young market drive feature goes to demand nothing changes this, so the link is in key. It also concedes Africa needs infrastructure to cause global growth, but they were in uniqueness saying that they're building infrastructure now. 2, Africa's economy is taking economy 24. Small temp increases significant repercussions. The economic indicators in Africa. GDP drops 7%, country level 26% of GDP. Revenues from crops decrease 30%. On this session, 1, historical trends make Peru's secession is inevitable. March 24. Separatism is a global trend. The number of nations tripled since 45. In the long run, there will be another. It just happens. No country is permanent. It will break apart. Second, recognition defeats secessionism since the high bar. Mercury 21. Somaliland is unique, has operated autonomously for 30 years, has attributes of statehood, was once independent. Recognition would delegitimize other secessionism by establishing a difficult standard for sovereignty. I'll add this last part to the doc. Movements don't escalate in pure. So Kings versus 17, there are 100 over 100 citizen movements. Philippines, India, Myanmar, Africa, despite numbers, very few are successful. I'll send marked.
Let's talk about
Are you
the
ready for
equal.
crossing?
Oh, I was
Okay.
just gonna start. Let's talk about the
Okay.
equal distribution of aid. How would
Yeah.
recognition like make that happen?
Our argument is just that the Zog clan has incentives to equally distribute aid because it would be like good for them in general.
Why isn't it doing it now?
Because it's not getting aid in the first place. I'm pretty sure that's your argument.
Okay,
Like
sure.
your argument is that they aren't getting aid, but the affirmative leads to aid. Our argument is that this aid will be equally distributed.
Wait, what is it?
Like that's the link
Wait,
into
wait, wait.
your
How is that the link into our argument?
about like civil war, like the link Leon hid.
Oh, you made a hidden link? Okay, that's crazy if true. You can have
Whoa,
a
no
question.
swearing.
Oh,
Okay.
that's actually my bad. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, you can have a
Let's
question if
talk
you want.
about let's talk about the cohesion argument. So has past secessionist movements distracted from the agenda?
Probably, yeah.
Oh, can you give an example?
Not off the top of my head. I'm sure it's not great for yeah, it's not great
You
for
can't
cohesion.
give an empiric.
That doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It's probably out there if you look for it.
Sorry, you can take question.
Thank you. Let's talk about cohesion. There are multiple ways to gain like independence, right?
What do you mean?
Like one country can gain independence in like a way that's different from Somaliland, right?
I guess.
Why would
What's
countries think they have to wait like 30 years if Somaliland like secedes?
well, the argument is that they would like have to like improve themselves or see it as too hard of a task to actually achieve, because that's like the bar that it kind of sets for a state to become recognized. Because they
How
want to
so?
be
Like
recognized by the A
states
specifically.
states know they don't have to go through the exact same process as Somaliland, right?
We'd argue they'd think it's a pretty similar process considering they're going to try to get it through the African Union. I'll take a question now.
Yeah, sure. That's fine.
Let's talk about Chinese involvement. What is your evidence in the context of?
I don't know what you mean in the context of. It just says like China has economic or wants to preserve economic benefits in the region and has military bases there, which is why it probably gets involved.
Yeah, but it also says that this already happened and the proxy war was small scale and didn't escalate at all.
Yeah, it's probably hasn't happened in the Horn specifically, which is way more key to global trade.
Sure, you can take a question.
Cool. Let's talk about like the GoFundMe.
Yeah,
Like
sure.
even if Somalia doesn't have the capacity to, it's still probably gonna get pretty mad, right?
That's ton, but
You can
it
answer
doesn't
really
matter if
quickly.
you don't have a terminal impact.
That's fine.
Evan, ready? Order is going to be our case, Wang, their case. Cool. On C2, we'll concede impact defense that movements don't escalate, which means that the turn doesn't matter because there's no impact. We're going to go for our argument about invasion, that current Horn of Africa tensions don't escalate because countries have too much to lose. Egypt doesn't have the capabilities, and Somalia and Ethiopia work together to counter terrorists. However, affirming greenlight Somalia to invade Somaliland because they view it as a threat to their legitimacy and attempts to reunify, which kills their territorial integrity. A conflict in the Horn of Africa escalates. It threatens the security of great powers who are all in the region, risking great power war, which escalates because of tensions and miscalculation and causes extinction through famine. On their diplomatic engagement overview, there's no implication. Just because they talk doesn't mean that these talks work out. Insofar as their own Schwartz evidence indicates that Somalia doesn't want Somaliland to be recognized, it means that there is no reason this diplomacy works. On instability, first, they say that Turkish mediation will fail, but this is not responsive to the argument insofar as the Kurds evidence says that there's no escalation now. Second, they say that invasion is inevitable. They have not pointed to a line in their evidence where this is true, and it definitely isn't because the MOU is gone, which means that invasion is not inevitable, and they have no reason to invade except for when recognition happens. Third, they say say that Somalia's army needs prayers, but there are three issues. A is that China gives them the military capabilities to attack. B is that they've conceded the Hassan evidence, which indicates that Somaliland's government is so terrible that Somalia would win the invasion, and they obviously know that. And C, they've obviously fought in conflicts before, as empirically proven, because Somalia and Ethiopia just had a small skirmish. It obviously proves that Somalia is capable to fight. Then they say that Kurds give us a bunch of all causes, but this is just about countries that, like Egypt not starting war. Obviously, if it hurts Somalia's legitimacy and is an existential threat to them, they'll be willing to fight. They also haven't listed any all causes that are evidence sites. Now, let's go to the Wang debate. First, our argument always on time frame. It's perceptual. As soon as you affirm invasion happens, but investment takes a long time, and it probably takes years to build up Somalia or Somaliland or Puntland's postcard. You should prefer time frame A, because increasing value to life is always better, and B, intervening actors can always solve their scenarios. Second, they have conceded that it would reverse the affirmative because Somalia would win the war, which just undoes the affirmative's terminal defense to all their arguments. Third, it turns the case. No country would invest in a region that's fighting a war because they think it would be too risky. Four, it turns the case again because no country would model Somaliland if Somaliland gets destroyed militarily, and it makes them more scared. And finally, fifth, we're going to go for the Hoggy evidence, not as a proxy war, but they've conceded the implication that China views Somaliland as legitimizing Taiwan and would threaten to cut off economic aid to countries that invest, which means that no country wants to destroy their economy, so no country would invest. Let's go to their case. They've conceded democracy will extend the Kurds. Evidence means there's no instability now, which non-uniques their argument about democracy. On piracy, they've conceded multinational organization to always solve back that the EU would fill in, which means that this is the highest that piracy would ever go, which means even if it's increasing, can never have an impact. Second, our evidence also says that the piracy is declining as a whole, whereas their evidence is only about a blip, which means that you should definitely prefer our analysis. Third, they have also conceded that Egypt views recognition as an existential threat because it gives countries access to the Red Sea, which means that they blockade Somaliland. Their only response was that it hurts their own economy, but Egypt doesn't trade with Somaliland. They would definitely view it as worth it, which means that no country can ever invest in Somaliland if Egypt's blockading it. On modeling, they have not read evidence that Puntland is key, which probably means that they can't solve anyway.
So once again, I'm Alex. The order of my speech will first be starting on our case on the Wang debate, then it'll go on to their case. Is anyone not ready? I'll handle their Wang on the Wang debate as well. Is anyone not ready?
Just read the extension.
Okay, cool. Time starts in my first word. We'll concede all the modeling stuff. Our cooperation argument is independent. Somali piracy is higher than more technologically advanced than ever, with raids on costs on shipping increasing. Piracy destroys world economy because Gulf of Aden's crucial location to key to worldwide trade viability. Affirming solves enables Somaliland to cooperate with other navies, receive resources and training from them, critical to anti-piracy. Economic decline causes extinction via famine because countries fearing decline launch preemptive strikes, wars, and fear of other powers overtaking them to secure resources. On the responses, first they say that it's limited. They have conceded that our evidence postdates by 8 months and find that there's been a massive resurgence in piracy. A, because of UNSC expiring, and because B, new Houthi capabilities, which means that piracy goes through the roof now. They say that piracy, their piracy as a whole is better, but our argument is more specific to Africa. So obviously, if the trade routes in Africa are worse, that's detrimental for global trade. They say that Egypt will do the blockade, but A, Egypt does trade with Somalia. B, our argument is talking about hurting global economic interconnectedness, which the Neg definitely hurts, which means that Egypt would not do a blockade. Then, at that point, good v. Wang. I should frame your ballot. They have conceded the fact that extinction is inevitable in the status quo due to massive piracy resurgence, which kills the economy, which means that fundamentally all of their impacts should already be triggering because we all die in the status quo. Regardless, that means that irrespective of all the response they have put on our case, if there is a single risk of offense on our case, you should pull the trigger for the Aff there. That should come before all of their time frame weighing because we have a risk of solving extinction, which is all future generations, so it has infinite magnitude. Therefore, it should outweigh a few extra seconds of human life. I'll address their meta weighing here. First, the infinite magnitude outweighs takes out value to life. Also, intervening actors is just fake defense. They haven't explicitly underlined which actors would intervene. We would say that piracy is a bad issue. No one's actually addressed it yet, which means that it's very dire. At that point, our argument should turn their case because when there's massive spikes in piracy, that also leads to more radicalization, i.e. the pirates are from Somalia, so they have more incentive to radicalize Somalia as a whole, but affirming means we are able to shut down the pirates and prevent them from doing things like an invasion. Then, on their case. First, on their Wang, their argument is certainly not perceptual. The entire point of our argument is that there would be massive economic collapse fast, which means that since the global economy is at the brink, increase in cost of piracy would immediately deck trade, and any perceptual decline causes country to immediately launch wars. But it takes a long time to build up military capabilities at the border of Somaliland to actually organize the forces, coupled with our defense that indicates that Somalia is super corrupt means that at best their argument takes months to manifest. You should err heavily for us on the time frame debate. Also, all their prereqs do not make sense because we've gone for a cooperation link. They extend this thing about like China would pull investment, but they've conceded that Somaliland would cut ties with Taiwan, so they have no incentive to do so. But even so, on their argument on the instability proper, the first response I will go for is what is basically cold concede that conflict is inevitable. They have conceded the Turkish mediation has failed because the Ethiopia MOU is restarting. They say that there's no escalation now, but the warrant for that card was because of Turkish mediation. Obviously, if the mediation is failing, that means Egypt, Sudan, Somalia, Somaliland are all going to go to war in the status quo, which not unique to all their arguments because that means that we're all going to die regardless because the invasion will happen now. At that point, the second response I'll extend is the indict on Hassan that indicates an invasion is inevitable. They say there's no war. The warranting is that because there's massive nationalist tensions, they should already be doing it already. In fact, that's what they're already building up at the border. That means that there's no risk of offense on their case, and we all die already. So you should affirm on try or die.
Are you ready for Grand Cross?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So would you say that your impact happens pretty quickly because the global economy is on the brink? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
All right, cool. Insofar, how long does it take to build up like the Coast Guard?
To counter piracy?
Not that long. You just send a ship. So like
What?
maybe like a day.
No. Wait. No. Your argument is that we would invest in their Coast Guard, so Somaliland would build more ships. Insofar as you
I mean, no, that's not the entire link we've went for. We've also went for the link that other navies, for example, other countries in Africa or even Europe would help Somaliland counter piracy, which was conceded.
Wait, exactly.
That's a different link.
Wait. Okay, sure, that's
It's
fine.
pretty fast to just send a ship down to like help them counter pirates. I'll take a question now.
Also, okay.
All right, let's talk about your argument about invasion, right? So why does your evidence find that tensions have de-escalated?
Right. You read the wrong response off the doc. Our argument isn't about Turkish mediation. The Kurds evidence gives several warrants. First, Egypt literally does not have the capability to escalate. Second, Somalia and Ethiopia currently work together to counter terrorists, so they obviously don't have an incentive to do anything in the status quo because they know that would destroy them. However, you miss the legitimacy analysis that the Chronicle evidence indicates that if Somaliland is recognized, A, they get a seat on the AU, and B, it breaks their territorial integrity, which Somalia views as an existential risk, which means that they have to invade. I understand your argument about Turkish mediation, but that was not the uniqueness card we read.
Here's the problem, right? So we made the argument that your evidence says invasion is inevitable. Your front line was that the MOU is gone now, so there's no invasion inevitably.
No.
Our argument is that the MOU is on track, so per your own link evidence, invasion should be imminent.
No. That's not what we said. We said the legitimacy thing, and we also said the Kurds thing.
I mean, sure, but Turkish.
Also in the extension.
Alex can explain. Let Alex explain.
Alex,
So
you can
the entire point of the Turkish mediation response is because the reason Somalia was threatened was because of Turkish mediation. But because the Turkish mediation has failed because the MOU is back on track, that specifically incites Somalia. The implication that I made in my summary was that the Turkish mediation thing is more specific to Somalia than your arguments about Egypt capabilities. It says that because the Turkish mediation is failing, the MOU is back on track, which means Somalia is already unstable and insecure about Somalia.
Wait. The other warrant in the Kurds evidence, which is not answered, that Somalia and Ethiopia currently work together to counter things like terrorists.
Wait, the reason they worked together was because of Turkish mediation.
Yeah, but recognition isn't happening in the status quo. Even if, yes, the MOU is on track, that doesn't mean it's 100% true, which is why our Chronicle evidence indicates that as soon as the recognition actually happens, that's when the invasion happens. Obviously, Somalia...
So because the MOU is back on track, that's why our warrant...
But the MOU is back on track, but that doesn't mean that recognition is inevitable. That obviously takes some time to happen, and it hasn't happened yet, whereas the affirmative guarantees that recognition happens from the entire...
It's not even like a Somalia invasion, but rather like an Ethiopia-Somalia conflict guarantees that conflict is inevitable. And per your internal evidence,
our evidence indicates that they're working together over terror, but that's cross.
Yeah.
We're going for instability. Escalation isn't imminent now as countries have too much to lose, but when you affirm it causes invasion because it erases Somalia's territorial integrity and is a threat to their legitimacy and destabilizes Somalia and as many clans oppose recognition and draws in China and other great powers because they want to preserve economic access to the region and because there are military bases there. They go to war and it causes extinction through nuclear use. Food can't grow, so everyone dies from famine. The responses against this are not persuasive. Firstly, they say that conflict is inevitable because the MOU is starting. Firstly, they've still never mentioned a reason why it'll uniquely escalate now. It can be solved again just the same way the first MOU was solved. And furthermore, they don't read evidence that the MOU is restarting. But more importantly, they've dropped that they're working together on terror right now, which will probably continue unless you affirm. Then they say there's nationalist tensions which make war inevitable. No, the nationalist tensions obviously are not at the point to where they're going to invade insofar as it hasn't happened yet. And furthermore, they've conceded Kurtz, which finds that Somalia doesn't want to destroy itself right now, but is only forced to when you affirm, which is the reason why they're not invading right now, but they will when you affirm. On the Wang, firstly, they say that our argument's not, they say that it takes a long time to build up the military. They've conceded that Somalia's military is already ready to invade and probably happens immediately because it's an immediate threat to their legitimacy. On the other hand, their argument takes a long time to solve. They have to build up the Coast Guard, which they've conceded takes years, and they also don't have a brink insofar as you don't know how long it'll take before their impacts trigger. Also, on the try or die Wang, we've contested their uniqueness, which means that the try or die Wang does not function. But furthermore, they've conceded that even if you affirm, there's a risk of extinction happening from the Neg. On their argument, firstly, they've conceded that piracy on the whole has decreased. Their evidence, they say their evidence postdates by 8 months. It literally can't. Our evidence analyzes the first 9 months of 2024. On their argument about, specifically, they also dropped Egypt. Specifically, Egypt will blockade Somaliland, and no country will be able to invest in it. They say that the blockade would hurt Egypt. They've conceded that Egypt doesn't trade with Somaliland, which is why the blockade wouldn't affect them and why they'd always do it. You can negate.
It'll be the Aff then Neg. Anyone not ready? Extend piracy. Oh, sorry, my timer didn't work. Extend piracy. Somali piracy is higher than ever and more technologically advanced, with rates and costs on ships increasing. Piracy destroys the world economy because the Gulf of Aden is in a crucial location key to worldwide trade viability. Affirming solves. It enables Somalia to cooperate with other navies and receive resources and training from them, critical to anti-piracy efforts. Economic decline causes extinction via famine because countries fearing decline launch preemptive strikes and wars in fear of other powers overtaking them into secure resources. The first thing they say is that their evidence analyzes the first 9 months of 2024 and finds piracy is down now, but their evidence is so broadband. We have read the only specific evidence to Africa and Somali piracy and finds that is higher than ever. We have read 3 pieces of uniqueness evidence, so you should err us on that. It is consensus by all experts. The second they say that there would be a blockade. One, there's no implication off of this in the last speech, so you have no idea why it matters. Second, they've dropped that a blockade would hurt the global economy, so they would never actually do it in the first place. Wang. On the time frame debate, they say that they have the capability to do conflict now, but no evidence actually says that in the first place. They have dropped that Somali's army is incredibly corrupt, which means that it would take time to actually build up good forces to do an invasion in the first place. And comparatively, they've dropped that the global economy is on the brink now, so further increases in cost and piracy, deck trade, that's CFR, and the perceptual decline causes countries to immediately launch wars against other countries in fear of internal weakness, meaning conflict is imminent. That's brains. It means that our argument should definitely outweigh on time frame. They say it takes time to build Coast Guard forces. This is not impact weighing about the impact, and either way, you can just send ships down to help other countries. They say the economy is not on the brink. Where was this evidence and where was this response to the last speech? It was not there. We have recorded evidence saying it is on the brink, which is why further shocks would deck the global economy on invasion. They say that there will be future amendments to agreements so the MOU will be stabilized in the future. No, they have dropped that all efforts of mediation are failing in the region now. Ethiopia and Somalia have had skirmishes between their forces, which is why cooperation in the region is not possible. Instability is inevitable, and their arguments about conflict are inevitable. There is no Turkish mediation. The MOU is inevitably going to lead to conflict, which is what their own link evidence concludes. Go around.
Good round.
Good round, guys.